I'm Kenny from Rock Climbing. So we have the new Rock Haywire here, newest addition to our family. It is our softest shoe in our lineup currently. So a lot of new things and exciting things about this shoe this year is new technology. Traditionally, we've been known for like making molded parts, but it's been kind of small and kind of confined to the heel area. So for the heel molds like this, still very difficult to do, right? But you're trying to make sticky climbing rubber flow in the mold, and it's really hard to make it flow up into a mold. With like fully cured rubber or non-climbing grade rubber, it is easy to do molds like this. It's not too hard. But we're able to design a way in production to make the climbing rubber flow up into the mold to make this like big shape. Because with such a soft shoe, like no midsole whatsoever, and then this new upper fabric called FloKnit, we needed to add structure to the shoe. And we didn't want to do that by layering rubbers or tensioning rubbers too much. So that's why we came up with the molded toe box. So traditionally, like outsoles are made like from a rubber sheet, and then you have to like punch out the shapes of the outsole, and then you put it onto the shoes itself. So we try to get it as close as possible to reduce waste as much as possible, but you are still going to have a lot of waste, from those cutout portions. So with this kind of technology, you can make the climbing rubber flow into the mold kind of exactly how much you need, basically. We'll have some excess that we'll have to, kind of cut or like grind off. It's not very much, not as much as you would see in a climbing sheet, basically. So in one way, it's more sustainable, and also it's easier for labor and production. So instead of having to put a RAN rubber and then an outsole on the shoes, you're just using one molded part to put into the shoe. So it saves time, it saves from waste being produced, and it has a lot of performance benefits as well. So what it does is also we have our patented concave sole, so that's patented for us, so it's going to have that shape, and it's also downturned as well. So this is its original shape, so it's going to try to hold this shape. So with all the other, like even our shoes, like we tried to tension the rubber to keep the downturn, to keep that concave sole, but eventually like things start to break down, right? And it starts to flatten, and it's not as downturned as before or anything like that. But with this is the original shape, so it's going to stay like that for the life of the shoe. For the performance aspect, we're also able to put different rubber thicknesses into different parts of the molded sole. So wherever you need more support, you'll get it. Wherever you don't need as much support, like in the center here, you don't have as much rubber. The other good thing about this molded sole is that it increases durability. So in like a typical downturn shoes, it's prone to delamination right at the toe because it's under so much tension. So it's trying to split itself apart from the RAN rubber and the sole part. So you get that little like talking mouth right at the front of the tip of the sole. But this one, because it's molded, there is no weakness, there's no seam at that point. Your foot is actually closer to the rock than you would be in like other traditionally made climbing shoes. Typically, the RAN rubber is like 2 millimeters or more in thickness. Outsole is like 3 to, some brands do even 5 millimeters in thickness. So that can be in anywhere between like 6 millimeters to 8 millimeters of rubber between you and the rock. So with this, in the high wear areas, we have up to 5 millimeters. So you are closer to the rock, and this 5 millimeters all climbing grade rubber. So when you're wearing it down, even past 4 millimeters, you have climbing rubber still left over after that time. So more durable, better for performance, more sustainable. So with the mold, we had the opportunity to add whatever we wanted to the molded sole. So we decided to do this like micro texture on the top and the sides of the shoes. What this does is gives it some added friction. So if there's texture on the holds, or climbing surfaces, it's going to try to grab that texture and give you added friction that you need. I've tested it myself, and it does stick a little bit better than the smooth stuff that's out there. Yeah. And then for the actual shoe, the other parts of it, we do have it lined underneath this part only, and then the heel part as well, because the knit fabric is so soft and so stretchy. If we didn't have this molded technology, and if we used this knit fabric without the lining, the shoe would be too soft, like too sock-like. I know some people like that, but we need some performance to kind of support your weight on edges and for you to be able to like grab the holes and the shoe to be able to hold its shape. So with the molded parts, that's why we're able to use this such soft, breathable knit upper. The other parts of the shoes, like the heel is molded as well. It's got the expandable designs, expandable design here as well. So it starts off with a kind of a narrow fit. And if you have a wider foot, it expands to accommodate. Same thing for the heel as well. It's got that cut. If you have that small heel, it's fine. If you have a bigger heel cup, it'll expand to accommodate. The strap is laminated. It's not stitched like other shoes. So what happens is like if you do have a really like low volume foot or skinny foot, you end up velcroing it down. You can cut it and customize it to any length that you want, basically. A lot of our athletes complain that the pull tabs were too small. They're using their pinkies to get their shoes on. So we give them a really big pull tab for them to pull on. And it is like with a soft EVA, so it's really nice and friendly, big, and it's pre-tensioned so it doesn't go down and interfere with any heel hooks, basically. Yeah. And then last, we have this like heel ran rubber. This looks like two different layers, but it's actually just one. So what it's doing is it's actually wrapping and gluing down here, so it's creating that torsional rigidity and some like tension toward the inner big toe. So Haywire is going to be available in October this year, 2018, and the price is $125 retail. Resoling can be done. If you have a experienced resoler, they can grind the sole part off, and they can do a resole traditionally if they want to. It obviously won't have the molded aspect of it. You'll lose that, but it can be resoled. But if resolers are interested, they can purchase the molded part. So it'll take a little bit of training, but they're able to grind or heat up the shoes so they can tear the sole off and just add another one on, basically. Yeah. Initially, there's a big investment up front. So you have to pay for the molding, the tooling fees, but we're trying to go for volume, right? So we'll end up using this mold for other shoes. Just like we have this heel mold is available in 3 different models as well. So we try to pay for that mold by volume in the shoes. We've always been, proponents of like fair pricing. There is a huge initial cost, but we try to mitigate that, sacrificing our margin to, penetrate the market, get it onto the shelves at a reasonable price. Because in the end, it's a fair price for us. The $125 for the shoe, I think it is what the shoe should cost. But we're not skimping on the molds. We're not having just one mold for the entire size range. So like this particular one here, you could see that it's 7 to 9.5. So one mold will take care of a small range, and then we have other molds for the other sizes. I don't think any other brand does this, even with their molded parts. I think we're the only ones that do different molds for different sizes, this many anyways. Yeah, because I think we have anywhere between 6 to 8 molds per model or per piece, so it fits properly. We try to maximize the benefit of the knit fabric by taking it all the way to almost to your big toe knuckle here. So like I said, you are getting that benefit. This does fit a huge range of foot shapes. This one is stuffed, but if you get one that's not stuffed with a filling, it starts off kind of like this. It's kind of closed. And if your foot is not wide enough to expand that, it's just going to stay like that. But if your foot's wide enough, then it'll expand to fit. So I think we're one of the few companies that are taking maximum advantage of this knit fabric, because we're not lining it at all. There's no liner. So you could only get this kind of structure and this kind of power with the molded part. So give it that bone skeleton, basically. Yeah. We did a lot of testing with our athletes, and we have a pretty good pool of like different foot shapes and sizes. So it's been received pretty well, all the way from low volume feet all the way to high volume feet. So we're anticipating for this model, we should have one model, not traditionally like low volume, high volume that we've done in the past.